Hello and welcome to Recycling Polymers. This is designed to be a short video to explain to you how polymers are recycled, what goes on in the process, and whether it is energy efficient and cost efficient. Um, we've all been told the stories that recycling is the way forward, and if we look at certain sites, recycling based sites, they tell us all the good stuff about recycling, such as one recycled can power a TV for 3 hours. So it doesn't power, it just, the energy saved can power a TV for 3 hours. And 70% less energy is required to recycle paper than making it from raw materials. And one recycled bottle, the energy saved from that, can power a 60-watt bulb for 3 hours. That's 0.18 kilowatt hours. Well, that's all well and good, but what is the process behind it? There's no use knowing it's good without actually knowing what happens. So, the first part of recycling is the sorting. So, what happens is first it's sorted, then it's shredded into smaller pieces, it's then washed to get rid of any impurities, and then melted, followed by pelletized. So, it's melted into its liquid, obviously, and then it's condensed back into small pellets, which are then sent to manufacturers to create. In the sorting, what happens is it's an automatic sorting machine, and someone has to remove all the uh, I don't know, rubbish. So if there's anything that cannot be recycled, it's then removed from it, and then an automatic machine will separate all the materials. The plastic will then be melted down and molded into its new shape, or shredded into flakes and then melted down. There are two main options to recycling. One is incinerating, and the other one is placing waste in landfill. If you look at the first option, incinerating, in fact, there is one incineration plant in the center of Vienna, which is called a waste to energy plant, WTE for short. And what it does, it essentially incinerates plastics and provides power to the entire city. If we look in America, for example, they quote that their WTE factories produce 550 to 750 kilowatts per hour. And there are 86 WTE sites in the USA, which together produce 2,700 megawatts of electricity, and that's 24/7. Um, this energy powers 2 million homes across America for the entire year. And I personally think that that is brilliant because we're taking plastics and using them instead of fossil fuels as an energy source. So instead of burning the fossil fuels directly, we have an intermediate state, which is plastics. So we're essentially getting extra out of the plastics. So rather than just burning your fossil fuel straight away, you convert it to a plastic, which, fair enough, it does require some energy, but then you incinerate that, which produces your electricity, and it powers a lot of homes, which is fantastic. Um, we also have another very interesting stat, which is for every ton of waste, 1 ton of gas is avoided. So that basically means that if we incinerate 1 ton of waste in a WTE, it saves a ton of gas as opposed to it being placed in a landfill. And the problem with it being landfill is, while most people don't recognize this, it actually produces greenhouse gases, and as a result, is worse than incinerating. This is mainly because when you place waste in a landfill, going a bit into biology here, your bacteria, it decomposes the plastics and polymers, and while it does this, it releases methane, and methane is 21% more potent as a global warming agent than carbon dioxide, which is what is produced in incinerating. And as a result, landfill is worse for the environment than incinerating. And when we recycle glass, for example, mainly sand is conserved, which, as far as I know, there isn't any major problems with sand shortages, and I don't think getting sand is the most expensive process in the world. But when we recycle, we need to sort it, we need to shred it, we need to melt it, and all of this requires energy, not to mention energy is required in getting the rubbish from households to a recycling plant. So all of this requires energy. If we look at how much energy is required to recycle materials, if you look at the good end of the spectrum, we have aluminium, which is 96% more energy efficient to make cans from its recycled material than it is to make it from its natural bauxite. However, with glass, it is only 21% energy efficient. This puts us in a very interesting situation that incinerating plastics and polymers may be more energy efficient and cleaner for the environment than recycling polymers. And the reason for this is recycling polymers is good, but it requires a lot of energy and labor force for it to work. And also, when you recycle your polymers, you also lose a bit of it. So how to explain it, you would essentially say that some polymers cannot be recycled back to their original form. So if you think about it as stepping down an energy chain. So at the beginning, you'll have a polymer that's very high in energy, and then you'll come down and down and down that energy level until you can no longer recycle it, and it just becomes useless. And I think, especially in these situations when there's nothing left for it, there's nothing left to recycle it into, incinerating is the perfect use for these plastics. Um, so while incinerating is looking like a very good prospect for us, to summarize, I think that recycling is still possibly the way forward for now, as incinerating would result in more fossil fuels having to be used to produce the plastics themselves. So I think for the time being, until maybe more efficient WTE plants are created, recycling polymers until they can't be recycled anymore, then incinerating is probably the way forward. If we look at one final statistic to conclude, 10.4 million BTU, which is a kilojoule roughly, is used to make a product from 1 ton of recyclables, and 23.3 million BTUs are required to produce the product from the pure starting material of fossil fuels. So that again shows that it's doubly inefficient, and sorry, not doubly inefficient. It uses 10 times less energy, and I don't think incinerating will save this. And while incinerating is definitely not as bad as people originally thought, I think recycling, for now, is the way forward. Thanks for watching.